We're still incredibly early for altcoins, and I'm not going to take any profits on altcoins until around this date that I'm going to talk about in this video. Despite the fact that Bitcoin and Ethereum are nearly at all-time highs, many altcoins are lagging behind significantly and still have the opportunity to make some serious profits over the next few weeks ahead. In this video, I'm going to talk about which altcoins I think are going to see some of the biggest gains over the next few weeks and months. I'm also going to talk about the different data and metrics that show that we are still very early in this bull market. Do me a favor, hit the like button, and let's get into today's video. Now guys, before you find out exactly why we're so early and when I'm going to be taking profits, just a quick disclaimer. Nothing I say in this video is financial advice. Everything I say is for entertainment purposes only. If you wish to invest in crypto, you should understand that it's risky and you can lose money. So don't use money that you can't afford to lose, and always do your own research before investing anything. Now that we got that out of the way, let's crack on with it. Now guys, before we find out about those altcoins and when I'm taking some profits and why I'm taking profits around then, let's just quickly understand where we are and why we're so early here. You see, this is the Bitcoin chart and it's at $120,000. And if you zoom out a little bit further, you're probably feeling like maybe we're not really that early in this bull market, because Bitcoin obviously started the bull market around $16,000 at the end of 2022. You're right. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Sui, and a handful of others are not early. They've been in a bull market for quite some time. But many other altcoins out there are still incredibly early, and we'll talk about what those are slightly later on. Now, we need to understand why Bitcoin's been pumping over this time and why many altcoins haven't, because it's going to allow us to understand what the plan is for the markets, the market makers, the institutions, etc. By understanding all of this, we can understand exactly how this market's going to play out. Now, if you've been subscribed to the House of Crypto over the past few months, you will know by now that Bitcoin very closely follows the global M2 money supply with an 83-day delay, okay? We've been following this for months. And if you go across to my Twitter page, which is Peter_THOC, make sure you give me a follow over there. You'll see that I put this post here on April the 9th, when Bitcoin was worth $78,000. I told you that the M2 would push Bitcoin higher. Lo and behold, it went up. Around this time, Ethereum was worth around $1,400. If you got into alts or Bitcoin around this time, chances are you are significantly up. Now, Bitcoin follows the M2 very closely, but the altcoins don't. And I'll tell you why that is in just a moment. Now, by understanding that Bitcoin very closely follows global M2 money supply, we can know this. We know what is going to happen over the next few weeks, months ahead, because you can see basically this blue line tells us that Bitcoin will likely go up until around now, maybe have a bit of a pause until sometime around Tuesday, Wednesday next week, and then continue on its merry way up until the 22nd of September. Now, this is a very significant date for us, and here's why. You see, Bitcoin has been very closely following M2, and when Bitcoin has sustained legs up, the altcoins tend to perform well as well. Now, the reason that is because retail investors like you and me are looking at crypto, and when Bitcoin's going up, we're like, well, okay, we're in a bull market. Let's invest in altcoins. Altcoins do well. Then what happens? Bitcoin comes down. Altcoins come down harder. And this always seems to be really difficult. We don't know what's going on because Bitcoin seems to have been outperforming many altcoins. Not all of them, but many of them. But something very significant has changed in just the last few weeks. And Ethereum is our clue for it. And this all links together with the 22nd of September. Now, as you know, there's a path to altcoin season. It's Bitcoin first, then you get the Ethereum phase, and then you go into the large caps and then altcoin season. Right now, we are quite clearly in the Ethereum phase. Ethereum has been massively outperforming Bitcoin, as we said that it would over the past few weeks, and it's been doing it for one very good reason. This path to altcoin season isn't random. It happens for a reason. Every 4 years, crypto pumps and we have a bull market. Why do we have that bull market? If you say it's because of the halving or whatever, give yourself a slap, because it's not. It has nothing to do with the halving. It just coincides with basically institutional money, debt refinancing and stuff like that. And basically all this debt refinancing that happens around the world has an impact on the M2 money supply, which is why it goes up and down all the time. That's why Bitcoin goes up and down. Altcoins kind of tend to go along with it loosely. Now, there's another piece to this puzzle, and you've probably been aware of it, and it is interest rates and quantitative easing. Now, while these haven't had much of an effect on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's very close to M2 money supply, it seems to be pretty closely correlated to altcoins. And that's why, despite the fact that Bitcoin's been trying to drag altcoins up, the institutions haven't really been risk on enough to enter into altcoins. And that's because interest rates have been high. And that's because we've also been quantitative tightening. We have been risk off, or institutions have been risk off. So that means we've been stuck in phase one forever. Now, however, we are seeing Ethereum going strongly. It tells us that the institutions are moving risk on, and we can see the proof of this here. Because Ethereum, all of a sudden, with various pieces of news, have started to pump. And this is because we are moving towards a rate cut. How do I know? Well, because all of the data that has suggested that we're moving towards a rate cut, like CPI data that came in the other day, like other jobs data and stuff that have been happening that have indicated that maybe the Fed's going to cut rates, have meant one thing. Ethereum has pumped like crazy. And this, as the altcoin, is indicating that smart money is going to go risk on. This is preempting moving risk on in September. Okay, so in September, the rate cuts are going to happen. And this is basically being preempted, and you can see it being preempted in the Ethereum chart right now. And this also tells us that after Ethereum pumps, we then run into large caps and alt season. And if you jump across to Google Trends, you'll probably be like, yeah, but we're not that early because all retail are coming right now. Yes, they kind of are, okay? And here's how I know they are here. If we go across to Google Trends, because you can see the search volume for altcoins has now broken all-time highs. People are now searching altcoins in big quantity. However, the new retail investors, the people who have never been in crypto before, are still not here. Okay, because if we search for how to buy Ethereum, you can see that this is still below the highs that we saw back in May of 2021. Okay, where this is basically an all-time high. This being obviously a pretty rookie question. Sorry if you feel like you're being called a rookie because you don't know how to buy Ethereum, but that's just how it is. Okay, retail aren't yet here in full numbers, and ultimately the retail will be around. But really, what you need to push that kind of altcoin move is institutions, etc., going risk on. So yes, we're kind of late for Bitcoin and Ethereum, but still relatively early for many altcoins. So before we find out which altcoins I'm personally looking into right now, let's start to identify when I'm going to be taking profits on many crypto coins, because I do think that we're going to see a pullback before the end of the bull market where I want to take profits, and it will come here. Now, why will it come here? First of all, the M2 money supply is going down, but you're like, yeah, but what about the rate cuts? Because the rate cuts are supposed to happen at the next FOMC meeting, and the next FOMC meeting is going to conveniently happen sometime around the 18th of September, which, lo and behold, is pretty damn close to here. Wouldn't this be a great sell the news event? Now, why would that be a sell the news event? Well, because you can see Ethereum is already preempting that news event. News that we don't even know is going to happen yet, but we're pretty confident it is. Many people out there will be like, oh, well, crypto is going to pump really hard after we get rate cuts. Crypto is pumping really hard now because we're going to get rate cuts. Everyone's already preempting that happen. Okay, it's going to be bullish crypto in general, but in the short term, I can't help but feel this is lining up to be a nice sell the news event, because obviously right now people are getting bullish, people are getting excited, everyone's coming into the market. We're likely to see M2 having a good healthy pullback for a few weeks before then continuing towards the upside on the event that everybody has been waiting for, which is the rate cuts. It all makes perfect sense to me. Now, to preempt this, as someone who's been in the markets for a long time, I will look to take some profits off the table, but I'm not going to get out of everything. Why? Because I don't know whether this actually results in a sell the news event or not. It could just continue up, in which case I want to have still exposure to the markets. I'm able to take profits around then because obviously I've been in the markets from all these major lows. Every single time there's been major lows, I've been documenting this. I've been telling you this is when I've been entering into the markets. It allows me to sit in nice profits and take money off the table when I can. So that's basically my game plan there. Now, when will I look to re-enter? Well, probably somewhere around here, okay? Hopefully around there we get some other sort of scary news event, like, I don't know, World War IV is going to break out after having World War III just a few months ago that lasted for 24 hours, and then all the other things that happen around then. I'm being, silly, but who knows, okay? It does make sense to me that we could have a very quick pullback in Bitcoin, potentially in some of the altcoins, but I'm not sure. Okay, so I want to basically have exposure to the market, but not full exposure. Now, why will we continue higher after? Well, because obviously the rates being cut will be very good for crypto. It's going to be risk on. We're going to see lots of money flooding into the markets. Likely, we're going to see continuation from M2 as this happens, because we'll see the dollar weakening. We'll see everyone around the world continuing to print money. This is very, very bullish for crypto, okay? But I just want to be a little bit cautious. Somewhere around here, this is where I might take some profits off the table. Now, in terms of percentage of portfolio, maybe I sell 20% of my portfolio, maybe 30% of my portfolio in preparation for it, because I do think that we still have aggressive bull market towards the end of the year, but I'm just a little bit cautious about what happens around then. The sell the news event sounds perfect to me, particularly if the entire market is very, very bullish by that point, which judging by this kind of M2 rising into then is more than likely going to happen. Now, I do think that prices after that dip in September will still be higher than they are right now. So many people I know have been following certain YouTubers who've been incredibly bearish forever. We're telling people to wait for like a $9,000 Bitcoin that never ever happened. If you're sat sidelined during this next kind of rally phase, I think it could probably be a bit painful for you. Just in my opinion, okay? We do have much more upside to come. Bitcoin's at all-time high. Ethereum near enough all-time high. All of these coins are pumping. You don't necessarily want to be sidelined because there's good money to be made over the next few weeks before that happens, especially in those explosive growth phases that last around 30 to 40 days. Now, if we look at path to altcoin season, where would we look? Would we buy Ethereum right now? If your answer is yes, silly. Okay, why would you buy Ethereum? Ethereum is near enough at all-time highs. So if Ethereum's running strongly, where do we want to go? Well, large caps, right? Large caps make sense. Let's have a look at certain large caps. Now, I've been saying this over and over again. Large caps that have been generating profits, that have got lots of active users, are a no-brainer. I've been talking to various CEOs, okay, of various different projects, some of which actually went to my wedding at the weekend, and they've been saying the same thing to me. All of the projects around September time are going to be starting to invest money and doing buybacks into their coins because they know that's when major kind of blow off top altcoin phase is going to be initiated. What are they doing? They're buying into those coins. What do we need to do? We need to identify the projects that have been making money, that have been strong over the past few months, and then we want to be into those early before they start to do all those buybacks and pump their own coins. How do I know they're going to do buybacks? Because they have millions of dollars. And by buying back at the right time, they can pump their coin up and then they can make even more money at the top. Now, which of those coins? I've been talking about these over the past few months. Deep in coins, a very good place to look. And here's a project that I've talked about multiple times, a deep in project in the data space called Grass. Now, there's two problems in AI. AI is really difficult to develop because it's expensive. It requires compute power and it requires data in massive quantities. Projects that solve this issue through decentralization are basically, in my opinion, good investments. But remember, do your own research and all that good stuff. Now, Grass, at the moment, makes around $70 million per year in terms of revenue. Now, the price has been falling. What do you reckon the Grass team have been doing? Using some of those profits to buy in to discounted prices, waiting for the market to get more bullish. Now, as you can see from this trend, I appreciate it's going down. And people get really worried about this. When do I buy? When do I buy? In my opinion, these are the projects that are at good value. As you can see, it's had a nice pump over the last week or so. This, in my opinion, is one of the best value projects out there in the data space. Now, my own personal project, Perceptron, will be doing something quite similar to what Grass does and is already taking on clients of its own and generating revenue of its own, and will be having a TGE or a token generation event in the next few weeks ahead. And it also does a lot of other things in addition to what Grass does, integrating AI agents and other key features. If you want to find out more about Perceptron and understand exactly when we're going to be TGEing with that particular project, go and give it a follow. It's Perceptron NTWK over on Twitter. Now, I appreciate people are always asking, when's it going to launch? When's it going to launch? Guys, you have my word. We are going to plan the most aggressive, biggest launch you could possibly ever want at the key moment. Right now, we're waiting for that key moment to arrive. Okay, you better believe we want this to be the biggest project ever because obviously we want you guys to make money and we want to make money from it as well. Now then, Grass looking pretty good right now. A few other coins in the kind of large cap category that are also looking great. I've talked about Worldcoin. The co-founder of Worldcoin is Sam Altman, who's the co-founder of OpenAI, one of the biggest companies in the world, which is the company behind ChatGPT. Okay, Sam Altman, no brainer. And OpenAI are about to launch their own social media platform, integrating ChatGPT and integrating Worldcoin wallet and using the Worldcoin as the payment solution on this particular network. Right now, you can see that it's around $1 billion valuation and it's been basically putting in this bottom. Look, last time it was in and around this price range, it did an 11x, okay? Reasonable shot at going up and doing similar things this bull market, possibly even more as the market gets even more aggressive and even more exciting. Loads of other top quality large caps sat down in these ranges, okay, appearing to have bottomed out. This is peak a deep in layer 1, okay, for all of these different cool deep in projects. They've already got over 50 different projects building on their chain right now. And you can see it's sat down in and around this range. This is a coin I still hold a little bit of, nothing particularly major, but this is a coin I've been looking to enter into. As Ethereum continues to climb, I will scrape profits away from Ethereum and move it towards coins like this. Why? Because Ethereum is not going to do more than a 2x. Many of these other projects, 5x, maybe 6, 7, 8, 10 or more, who knows, okay? But more than 2x. Layer 1 ecosystems like Aptos, from a very similar team to Sui. Very similar kind of project in a way to what Sui is doing. In fact, a much faster blockchain, a much more technical blockchain than Sui. Okay, and again, Aptos sits down in and around this kind of area, buy zone area. I've drawn it on here. Every single time, you know, we see the market starting to pump, then you can see strong moves from these altcoins, okay? Many of these have been lagging behind. I know many people are like, well, yeah, but this coin's not moving. I'm holding this, and Ethereum's been pumping, and a few others have been pumping. Guys, it's not your job to know when these are going to pump, okay? You just have to understand that they will at some point. And actually, if you haven't been in the coins that have been pumping, that's fine, because all you've got to do is identify the next ones. Okay, I talked about Ethereum down here. No one wanted to hear about it because they were all too busy buying into the other ones that were pumping around then. Although around then, not much was pumping in general, but you get the picture. You go after the coins that are yet to pump, that are sat down in decent ranges, that are already onboarding millions of users and generating huge revenue, you can't go wrong. Like Worldcoin, it's got like 13 million users. Okay, go and check out what Worldcoin's doing. It's seriously interesting. Beam has got a treasury of like $180 million. $180 million. And I wonder what Beam will be doing soon. In fact, they've already been doing it because they've already started to spike up from this area, but still a decent value. Just zoom out. Look at where Beam has got to go to get back to highs. And it's reasonable to say that it's going to do it because it's done it every time and they got huge amounts of money in the locker to be able to achieve that. Not only that, it's a layer 1, it's in gaming ecosystem. There's huge numbers of different games and things building on top of Beam. It makes sense, perfect sense as to why this will run strongly when the altcoins go into more risk on environment. Aether, again, deep in, makes $130 billion per year in revenue. Again, look, from these lows up towards here, what's Aether? 180%. Actually, it looks like a bit of a choppy chart. Aether, for a newer project, has performed incredibly strongly over the past kind of year or so, where the market in general hasn't been doing particularly well. Now, I do expect that there are a lot of coins that will perform pretty strongly into and around maybe September. Some of those I might take profits on and then leave some of the money in, anticipating that we rally strongly towards the end of this year. Now, is the bull market going to continue into 2026? I hear lots of people saying that. You do have the quantitative easing and other things coming into play that could add liquidity and whatever else that drives these markets, and obviously other factors. But remember, right now we are preempting those rate cuts. Okay, we preempt the rate cuts. You can see this happening in Ethereum. Guess what happens next year when the market moves from quantitative easing in towards quantitative tightening? The smart money will again start to preempt the market tightening up again, which can happen 6 months or more in advance. That means that you don't want to be hanging around waiting for those news pieces to drop, because chances are the market will have significantly fallen before that's time to happen. Now guys, if you want to go buy any of the altcoins that I've talked about today, or any of the altcoins that I will ever talk about into the future, then go and sign up for a Bitunix, WEEX or BloFin account, all linked down below in the description. Now all of these different exchanges come with some of the lowest fees around, no KYC, and you can access various different small mid-cap altcoins that you can't access on the likes of Coinbase and Binance. If you want to be able to enter in early to certain altcoins on videos that I make, etc., so that you can beat the rush, then make sure you signed up for each and every one of these accounts, because by having all of these three, you're going to be able to access all the different coins, and you're going to be able to gather all of the different major bonuses that these offer. Now, all of these different exchanges have new and exciting sign-up bonuses available right now, so make sure you use those links down below in the description if you want to go and access those. Now, in the next few videos I make, I will start going in more detail into real-world asset coins, into gaming, into AI, into lots of other areas. I'll start thinking about exit plans and other things so that you are set for the bull market ahead. Make sure you subscribe to the House of Crypto, also my other channel, the School of Crypto, and go and give me a follow over on Twitter if you haven't already. Hope you have a great day, guys, wherever you are, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye-bye.